Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and well, today we have some new Hammond collection figures. Well, one new figure, then some actual, official looks at some other ones. And I'm sorry it took me so long to get this news video out. It's been just stuff happened, and I was able to get the slides done, but it just basically took me forever to actually get to doing the audio part. But now I'm getting to that now, and we can actually finally start talking about these figures. Anyway, starting off with the Sinoceratops. I'm not going to go in a super in-depth look on these. We're going to do that later in the video. But just for first thought, this thing looks absolutely hideous. And I mean that in literally the best way possible, considering this thing looks identical to the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom Sinoceratops. Well, at least really close. Maybe not 100% identical, but very close, and it gets its likeness done very well. And frankly, the Jurassic World Sinoceratops is really ugly, but Mattel honestly nailed its design perfectly. So, yeah, I think this figure... Also, we're going to talk about more of its features in a second, which I am more excited about this figure for what it means for future figures than the figure itself. I'm personally just going to say now, I don't plan on getting really any of these. There's one I might get from this wave, but probably not really. So, yeah, most of these I think I'm just going to skip out on, though I am very excited what some of this stuff means for future figures. So, yeah. Anyways, again, here's another image of the Sinoceratops. It looks like it's good articulation. If you're a fan of the Sinoceratops, I feel like you'll probably be a fan of this figure, but I really don't like this design. So, yeah. You can also see the swappable parts, which we'll talk about more when we get to the actual video segments. Here's it from the side. And, yeah, I do want to mention now, I think the tail looks a bit too long, though, even though the Sinoceratops from Fallen Kingdom has a long tail, I feel like this looks even long for that, though maybe I could be wrong. I do have a side-by-side we'll go to in a little bit. Here's a look at it from the front. The articulation looks pretty good, and the paint job, also, let me go back to this image. The paint job looks really good, so, yeah, really like this one. It also has painted nails fully. Anyways, moving on to the Ornitholestes. I don't think this one's very good. I don't think it's horrible. I think it could be worse. But, this feels like the definition of a generic dromaeosaur. Literally, you'd be watching any, or, reading a piece of paleomedia, going through, going through a book or something, see, it in the background of a picture, or you'd see it in, a film or something. A unidentified random dromaeosaur that's never brought up, and it's kind of just there for the background. That's what the Ornitholestes figure basically is. And, yeah, seeing that Ornitholestes isn't even a dromaeosaur, that's kind of concerning. Yes, it likely did actually have a sickle claw in life, though it was not a dromaeosaur, but this thing still looks like a dromaeosaur, even when we're not talking about the sickle claw, and this thing just doesn't look very good. So, yeah. Here's the swappable parts. They actually have swappable hands. I don't actually have any of the small Hammond collection figures, since the only Hammond collection figure that's small that I actually wanted to get, which was the Pyroraptor, I missed out on because, of course, I never saw it in store because they really suck at stocking these figures, but yeah. I'm probably just not going to get these guys. I just, again, don't think any of the small... A lot of people, people that really hate the Hammond collection, and people that kind of bring out arguments that I don't think are 100% fair to say for the Hammond collection, basically, that opinion on the figures is basically how I feel about all the small figures, except for, Pyroraptor and, Dimetrodon. Dimetrodon is also a good one. That one I did see in stores, though I did decide to pass it up. And, if I got a chance to buy it again, maybe I'd get it, but I don't know. Again, Pyroraptor is the only one in which I say it's, really good, and even then, it definitely has its issues. But the Ornitholestes, again, not the best. The color scheme is really bland, and again, unlike the one in the novel, which was green, this one's orange, so don't know why. Guessing they didn't want the colors to clash with the Sinoceratops, but, yeah. So, yeah, here's some other poses you can do with it with the swappable hands and stuff. Next, we have the Mussaurus. This is actually the one that I was kind of considering getting, and I might still get it, I don't know. But, yeah, I was actually really interested in this. The Ornitholestes is just like a generic theropod, but the Mussaurus is actually a sauropodomorph, so if this one was decent, I would actually get it. And look at the paint scheme, it looks really nice. The tail looks decent, the body and hind legs look pretty decent, but and also the neck looks decent, though maybe could be a bit longer. But then I have pretty much, 2 issues with this thing, and, I'll save those for the next slide, but, right here, again, has the swappable hands. It has the more curved down hands, but, yeah, I guess so. Anyways, again, the paint scheme looks pretty nice. My issue with this figure, again, is, the neck being too short, but, my big 2 issues are the head sculpt and the front arms. I think the front arms are way too skinny. And, again, if this was more a more accurate Mussaurus, which we'll get to in a little bit, this animal actually was bipedal in real life, so if it was bipedal, I feel like I could forgive the scrawny arms, but since they decided to make it a quadruped like some of the more outdated depictions, I think the front legs really need to be beefed up more. Also, the head sculpt just looks off. It looks like it has a beak, which it really shouldn't, even if we're taking into consideration the keratinous coverings, at the end of some sauropods' faces, or at least a lot of sauropods' faces. And I don't know if sauropodomorphs would have had them, but even if they did, they didn't really look like beaks. And a lot of time they just make them look like beaks in the Jurassic franchise, and it really bothers me. And, yeah, the face just in general just doesn't look good. And I'm considering getting this figure, but Scutosaurus was one I kind of wanted, and like again, Dimetrodon were both figures that I think are significantly better than this. I kind of wanted, and I decided to pass up on those. So I doubt I'm gonna actually get this figure, since again, I think it's significantly worse than those guys, and I'm probably gonna pass out on this. But in concept, I do think I like this figure, and honestly, I could possibly see some cool customs coming out of it. So maybe I'll pick it up just for that. But yeah. Anyways, on to the actual like Beyond the Gates video. So here's the packaging for the two of them. Honestly, I kind of am obsessed with these kind of creepy looking like renders Mattel have been doing for their like species that aren't like in the films, or at least don't have like an actual design, like actual renders for them. I kind of am obsessed because I'm kind of just curious what kind of cursed abomination Mattel gonna come up with, and man, they did deliver one of these ones. I do think that I actually do kind of like the actual hand-drawn renders. I just kind of wish they looked a bit better. Though I do think they unfortunately, they do actually kind of fit the creatures very well, looking a little bit uncanny. Anyways, moving on, the Ornitholestes. I just wanted to mention this. Basically, the person presenting these figures literally bends the tail, showing that as a bendy wire. Then literally right after letting go of it, it automatically just like goes back to its original position. So you can tell the wire in the tail is not very good. So yeah, that's a bit concerning. Anyways, here's the head sculpt of the two. Again, the Ornitholestes, like the head sculpt itself, I think isn't horrible, though probably not the best for Ornitholestes. But like the rest of it, just not really good. Again, even then, the head sculpt's not very good. And the Mussaurus, again, I feel like they just gave it like a really weird bird face, which it really shouldn't have. They really should have made the face more rounded at the end. Yeah, maybe I'll get this figure just to customize it, just because I really think that this figure is almost good. But yeah. Again, I think the Mussaurus' like paint scheme looks good, but it has like weird sharp teeth, which they keep on doing with the small herbivores, and then also, again, the beak looks really weird. Again, here's the figure again. Also, the neck is just too short. It just doesn't quite work for this animal. And the Ornitholestes, like proportion-wise, I don't think it's horrible, though. Again, just the sculpt and kind of is bulky in too many areas. Here's the kind of like crouching position. Kind of looks unnatural where the head articulates. Here's the Mussaurus, which isn't horrible. Again, if the neck was longer, I feel like this, the articulation it does is, again, kind of good. Also, the swappable hand for this figure, I don't know why the position just looks kind of unnatural for this animal, but, yeah, I don't know. I feel like a more sprawled open kind of hand look for the curled hands would have worked to make it look, actually give it hands that are a little bit more similar to, like, the real-life animal when it was bipedal instead of these kind of weird mammalian hands, but, yeah. Next, we have the Sinoceratops itself. I was kind of surprised that they even made this thing, because I know a while back there was actually, like, a leaked rumor Sinoceratops, but it actually turned out to be, like, a custom-made figure that someone, like, posted and made the image blurry to make it look like it was real. But Mattel's finally doing a Sinoceratops, and actually taking a look at the figure. Again, looks pretty much perfect to the actual animal, just the Sinoceratops is kind of ugly in Jurassic World. So, yeah. Props on Mattel for making it accurate, though. Again, the paint scheme looks pretty good. And, like, just, again, accuracy-wise, it looks pretty good. Also, you can detach the nose horn and replace it with, like, a more broken one. But something interesting is with the nose horn removed, it kind of actually looks like a Pachyrhinosaurus. Because if you didn't know, Sinoceratops, not only is there a running joke, Sinoceratops and Pachyrhinosaurus are always getting mixed up because the original, like, Sinoceratops... Okay, so backstory is that originally Pachyrhinosaurus was going to be in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, but apparently its name was too hard to say, which I think is a dumb excuse, but yeah, apparently its name was too hard to say, so they replaced it with Sinoceratops, and they basically just edited its model. And, yeah, but since Mattel already made the figures, probably before they decided to make that Sinoceratops change, it's just a Pachyrhinosaurus figure that they call Sinoceratops. And, yeah, that's why the Sinoceratops can really be changed back and forth. The only difference I can really tell from the Sinoceratops, like the Pachyrhinosaurus it was originally supposed to be, is that it has a boss, of course, and then also the frill is a little bit shorter and doesn't have the holes in it. So, yeah. And, yeah, this looks a lot like a Pachyrhinosaurus. You could probably make a really cool Pachyrhinosaurus custom with this, and we'll talk about that more later. But I think it would have been cool if they gave us, like, a boss swappable piece. So, yeah. Anyways, it also has a jaw, which I actually cannot tell. Is the jaw articulated? I know it has a swappable jaw, but I thought it was just to give it, like, a different tongue position. But is the jaw articulated as well? Like, is it kind of like a, actually, I don't really have a good comparison for this, but, like, is it like a jaw, basically have two different jaws and at least one of them can articulate, or is it like both of them are just, like, stuck in a fixed position? One's fixed closed and one's fixed open. If so, it's a little bit disappointing, but hey, at least the jaw articulation looks better than the weird, like, flap they've been doing for, like, some of the other herbivores, so, yeah. Anyways, here's the broken horn attachment, the open jaw piece. Then he just starts drilling into the figures, so, yeah, that's nice. Anyways, so pretty much he's just attaching these actual, like, basically keep the figures in place while doing the stop-motion animation, which I'm not going to play stop-motion animation here, or maybe I will, honestly, just depends on if I feel like it when we're editing. This animation's really good. It's actually, like, really fluent. Probably, like, one of the most fluent stop-motion animations I've seen. Only thing about it is I'm kind of confused. Like, it confuses me. Like, why is Sinoceratops fighting Mussaurus? Like, why? And then also the Mussaurus has like some very carnivorous sounding, like it almost sounds like a velociraptor actually. I don't know why. It kind of seems like they just the person filming this kind of just treated Mussaurus like a carnivore, even though it's a herbivore. But yeah, and then Ornitholestes is kind of just there off to the side. Very random. The animation's really good, really nice looking, just kind of confuses me. Like, if we go back to this image basically sums it up. It's Sinoceratops and Mussaurus fighting, and then Ornitholestes just kind of there for some reason. So yeah. Anyways, these figures I think are up now, but yeah, I didn't even bother checking. The Beyond the Gate reveals usually come out before. Like, honestly, to be completely honest, the Beyond the Gate reveals usually are re-uploaded by someone before the official channel actually uploads them on YouTube. And then on top of that, usually the listings take several hours to actually come up. Sometimes I think it's like the longest it's been like a day until like the listings actually pop up, like the pre-order listings. But yeah, personally, I'm skipping out on this entire wave. I just don't really like any of the figures. Sinoceratops, because it's a good Sinoceratops. I mean, it's a good Jurassic World Sinoceratops figure. It's a Sinoceratops figure based off the Jurassic World Sinoceratops. That's the complete issue. I don't like that thing. It's really ugly. But I do think that Mattel did a great job replicating the animal from the film, and I do hope that they're able to do things just as good, if not better than this in the future. And then the two small creatures are pretty much as bad as most of the other small creatures I usually see. Anyways, you may be wondering where that cursed freak of nature, aka Dryosaurus, is. I have no idea where that flesh-eating abomination is, but yeah, it's probably going to release in the next wave. Either way, if it did get cut, I'm kind of hoping that happened, I would be perfectly fine, because it has nice colors, but outside of that, this thing scares me. But, yeah, personally, again, just going to skip out on all these figures, because, again, they do look, like, again, I think the Sinoceratops looks really cool. Mussaurus' colors look good, but it's kind of average overall, and Ornitholestes also just kind of average overall, but this promo image actually looks really nice. Anyways, I'm going to just save my money to go put it towards something actually very important, like this beautiful Mr. Mutant costume. Anyways, jokes aside, here's, like, the actual Sinoceratops. Here's it referenced with a few other things. Here's it with the actual render alongside the Mattel figure, which I actually have that Mattel figure, and then also the design from Jurassic World Evolution. And actually looking at it, the tail might be too short. This thing just has a freakishly long tail. And so, yeah. Again, based off of the colorations, they are a bit off. They're a little bit more of like a, kind of like a more vibrant bluish green, while it should be more of like a brighter yellowy green. But outside of that, I think the color seems pretty spot on. And, yeah, I personally like the mainline Mattel figure more since it actually looks less like the Sinoceratops from the actual show. And you may be thinking, wait a minute, would that be a bad thing? Well, considering the Sinoceratops from the show is a weird hippopotamus abomination, no. But, I am props for accuracy, and I really do want to see Mattel carry on doing figures this accurately, especially when they move on to creatures that actually look good from the series. But, yeah. Again, I already have the older Sinoceratops. I don't really need another Jurassic Sinoceratops, so, again, just going to skip out on this guy. But I think they actually depicted this guy pretty much perfectly. I also think the neck might be a smidge bit too short, and also maybe the torso is a smidge bit too large, or at least the head's a little bit too small. So if they were to fix that, I think those proportional issues are just slightly wrong, but outside of that, it looks really good. Another thing that I just realized about the Sinoceratops, which I absolutely hate about this design now, is the toenails. It bothers me. Why does it have like a bunch of horse hooves for toenails? Honestly, it kind of grosses me out, but yeah. Otherwise, again, it is depicted well on the Hammond collection figure. It also has a dew claw, which I just realized is not painted, but hey, honestly, we got this much paint on a Mattel figure. I'm honestly going to take a win where you can get one. But I think the swappable horns, especially, and the new jaw thing, is going to be really cool. And I really want to see them do Sinoceratops, honestly, because that design is really good. And if they can make it this accurate, I'm getting that figure ASAP, since that's probably my favorite Ceratopsian in the franchise. Anyways, moving on, here's the next Pachyrhinosaurus. Again, without the nose, it actually looks really similar to, like, the original Pachyrhinosaurus design. At least I believe that this is the design for Pachyrhinosaurus. I don't think this is a fan-made design, but I could be wrong. And this may actually just be a fan rendition of what it probably looked like before the design was changed. But I think it just looked better here, and definitely worked as a Pachyrhinosaurus a bit better here. And again, I feel like if you filed down like the boss area, the nose part of the figure, and also redid the frill a little bit, it could work as a Pachyrhinosaurus. Honestly, okay, if I do somehow end up getting a hand of this figure, I might actually make a custom like nose boss piece you can put on to make it like a Pachyrhinosaurus. But comparing it to like the Chaos Theory one, again, the Chaos Theory Pachyrhinosaurus, I liked it when it first came out, but the more I look at it and the more I heard people talk about it, the more I realize it actually looks kind of weird. Like, it has a really cartoony face. Like, even for Chaos Theory standards, like the Camp Cretaceous and stuff, they usually have at least a little bit cartoony, but they still kind of can blend in. This guy's definitely super cartoony. And, yeah, it's kind of not my favorite. Honestly, looking at the Jurassic World Expedition, I think it was, Pachyrhinosaurus, really wish it was that one. I think that one's better than literally all the other Pachyrhinosaurus. We also have the Mattel figure, which also looks great. But the Expedition one just has a really cool-looking boss, and it's also just... Again, I think the design just looks way cooler and more boxy, and I kind of wish that was what the canon Pachyrhinosaurus looked like. I don't know, is Jurassic World or Expedition or Jurassic Park Expedition, whatever this Pachyrhinosaurus came from canon? If it is, I prefer this one over the other canon Pachyrhinosaurus so much more, but yeah. Again, I feel like you could probably make a cool custom out of this. So, yeah, moving on. Here's, again, I wanted to do the Sinoceratops so badly, because the Sinoceratops has much better proportions and much better, like, the body's not a hippopotamus. It's like an actual ceratopsian body. It has much better legs, it has a much better tail proportion. The head looks so much better, and also the colorations, admittedly, are much cooler. If they make this, I will get this. I did not get the Battle at Big Art Allosaurus, since, again, I'm not a fan of that Allosaurus, but I love this new Sinoceratops and think it would be really cool if they released it. Especially with, like, swappable horns. Maybe you could get, like, damaged ones as well. Or at least, like, a female variant of the horns or something like that. I don't know. Would definitely be really cool. Now on to the Ornitholestes. Again, I'm not going to go too much in depth with these guys since I did in my first video kind of talking about these, but yeah, on the top, give me a second, yes, top right, you can see an image of like what an actual Ornitholestes looks like. More modern depiction though, because again, we originally thought it had a nose horn, but now we know it probably didn't. And this is one of the few cases where actually doing a mixture of accurate and inaccurate would have worked better. Like, again, you can see on the bottom left, there is a depiction of what it would have probably looked like in the novel, and I think this design is perfect. If it was just this figure, a figure of this design, I would probably get it, because the skull shape is really cool and, like, narrow. It has a nice little nose horn, it has some quills, making it look unique. The ridges down the back instead of the weird pangolin feather spike thing, or scoots they have on the orange figure, like the actual Hammond collection one. And then, again, the green color scheme just looks cool and stands out so much more with all the stripes. And then, like, the white accents also look good. And then the sickle claws, not just a repeat of the raptor figures, actually look kind of nice. So, yeah, because, again, Ornitholestes is kind of debated if they actually had, like, a sickle claw or just, like, a kind of a toe that was somewhat similar to a sickle claw. Or if they just had an elongated, like, kind of, inner toenail or something like that. But it is likely that they possibly did have a sickle claw. And, again, I think making the foot look more unique instead of just doing a raptor foot would have been so much better. And then also here's the Jurassic World Ornitholestes, which is, like, also not, it's a little bit too Coelophysis-like, so again, I wouldn't want it to just look like that, but making it a little bit more lanky would have really went a long way instead of making this bulky theropod again. Honestly, if it didn't have the sickle claws, this would be, like, the ultimate generic theropod ever made by Mattel. Honestly, you could probably be like a generic, like, basal Carcharodontosaurus, maybe even a basal Tyrannosaur or something. But, like, it's not really Ornitholestes. Again, this was kind of just a weird species choice. Anyways, other creatures I think I would have would prefer to see instead of this figure and be replaced by is, first thing, Proceratosaurus. I believe this piece of art that is actually based off of what the design would have looked like is based off of what colors it would have been in the novel. And if this is what colors it was, I feel like this would have been a really cool design. Not only is it a bit boxier, so it would have worked a little bit better, but also just having it like gray, black, tan with like an orange crest would have been so much cooler than whatever this weird color scheme we got now. Also, it could be a little bit smaller of a figure, like even for the small figures, a little bit smaller. And if they could possibly get the articulation done, that would have been, like, get the articulation done well, I feel like that could also be cool. Also, something I just thought of, if they really wanted to do, like, the more accurate depiction of the Ornitholestes and they didn't want to do the nose horn, why don't they just make the nose horn, like, a removable piece? So you can basically choose if you wanted to have the nose horn or just have it be a little bit more accurate. But anyways, Proceratosaurus, again, I think that's kind of like my top pick. But another option is our Jurassic Park the Game-inspired Herrerasaurus. That would be really cool. Honestly, this thing has a freaking awesome color scheme. Would be difficult for them to do, but if they could pull it off, it could also be really cool. Also, Herrerasaurus is a boxier kind of, more heavily built animal. So again, I feel like they could pull it off a little bit better than the more regal, slender ones. And then also Moros Intrepidus. they'd have to scale it up for it's actually more accurate in size to the real-life animal. But outside of that, the Morrison-Trepidus would just be really cool. To be honest, if you just add some fuzz to this and repainted it, this would work. Also, you'd also have to cut a finger off, but this would work pretty decent as a Morrison-Trepidus. Also, I forgot about Cyclical, I have to rework that. Again, you can easily rework this figure into being a Morrison-Trepidus, because it doesn't really look like an Ornitholestes. So, yeah. Anyways, now we move on to Mussaurus. Again, on the top right, we have a image of what the real-life animal looks like. You get, again, more bipedal and actually more sauropodomorph-like. But, again, on the bottom left, we have a depiction of what it looked like in the Lost World novel. Back when we thought that it was more of a quadrupedal animal. I don't know if this came out before or after we found out that the animals we found were actually juveniles, because Mussaurus means mouse lizard. Because we thought it was a very small dinosaur, but those were actually hatchlings, so those don't really count as, like, the full-size animal. And, yeah, again, that's... I don't know if the novel was written before or after we knew that, but, yeah, I think it would have been a little bit better. They just fixed the proportions. I would have preferred a bipedal one, but if they did a quadrupedal, I feel like there's some better ways they could have done it. For example, give it, like, the more enlarged inner finger, the kind of thumb spike that's more, derived sauropods are known for, and, like, the kind of more, actual claw-like, more regular, I guess, giant claw that the sauropodomorphs would have had. I feel like that would have been really cool to see with the Mussaurus. We also have the Mattel figure compared to it. Is it better than the Mattel figure? That's kind of up to debate, but I kind of like the Mattel figure better. I feel like if it had the same paint scheme, it would be better, but, yeah. Again, something that all these have in common, they have much longer, more slender necks, so, again, I think this thing just has too short of a neck. And they also have beefier front limbs, except for the actual real-life animal, because, again, that was a biped, and its arms were actually shorter, so, yeah, definitely so close. I might get this figure, though probably on clearance, admittedly. Again, it's probably, I might still skip out on it, though. So, yeah. Another option is to do a few other ones. For example, Sinoceratops is another really cool creature I would like to see. Give it Jurassic Park Institution colorations. Yeah, I know it's not canon, but Irritator is literally my favorite creature Mattel has released in the Hammond collection, and it's not canon either. A Jurassic Park Institution Inostransovia based figure would literally be like one of my #1 figures and possibly outdo it. Probably my, the figures I want the most in the Hammond collection lineup are probably like Novel Carnotaurus, Jurassic Park the Game, Jurassic Park Operation Genesis Carcharodontosaurus, and the Jurassic Park Institution Inostransovia. Those guys are the only ones that can rival the Hammond collection Irritator, probably. And I think it would be really cool to do, since it's kind of another more primitive creature. Mussaurus is from the Triassic, while Inostransovia is from the Permian, so before the dinosaurs, but there's both. Permian and Triassic are kind of lumped together in a lot of cases, so yeah, kind of more primitive. Then Herrerasaurus, another Triassic animal. Herrerasaurus was, well, for a long time believed to be like a basal theropod, though more recent evidence suggests that it may have actually been a basal sauropodomorph, though that's still up in the air, like really the relation of anything from the Triassic period, so yeah. But it could also be another alternate that they could have done. And then Nothosaurus. It's canon, more canon than literally any of the other creatures, so yeah, also it's quadrupedal and blue. I think, I already have the Mattel Nothosaurus, but honestly, if they made another really good one, I'd probably get it as well. So, yeah. Though, again, that you could make an argument it's kind of pointless to make, since, they literally, again, it's kind of the similar situation to the Dimetrodon, where, like, they basically just be adding a few more leg articulation points, and outside of that, it would have been basically the same, but I still kind of don't care. If they made Dimetrodon, they can make Nothosaurus. So, yeah. Anyways, those were all of the official releases. We're already 20 minutes in, and those were just the official stuff. But then I have a whole bunch of creatures that I kind of want to mention that should get added, and how I think they should get added. Yes, this is kind of, there are going to be some repeats from my previous video, because I did do this in my other video, kind of talk about creatures. But the difference between that and this list is that that video was basically just a whole bunch of creatures that I, basically just my own, basically going solely off my personal opinion of creatures I want to see added. Well, here we're just kind of going off of some creatures that I think Mattel could do, or at least could, just some random ideas Mattel, I guess, could do for the Hammond collection lineup that I could see them definitely doing, possibly. Some of them not so much, but we'll get to those later in the Hammond collection lineup. And we're going to, unlike the other list where I basically ranked them off of how much I wanted them, but the last one being the one I wanted the least, up to the first one, which is the one I wanted the most, now we're just ranking them based off size class. So starting with the small figures, Rebirth Velociraptor. Outside of the fact that it would possibly end up looking very ugly, because a lot of these small figures, specifically the Velociraptor, look kind of rough, but there's a good chance that maybe, just maybe, Mattel can get the proportions right and this figure would look good. Because if they can, this is just a really good Velociraptor design, and it would be a really good interpretation of it. So, yeah. Anyways, next we have Morrison-Trepidus. We already talked about this guy, so we're not going to dwell on it too much, but again, you get the idea. Could work as a smaller figure. Though I think it would be cool if they did a theoretical, like assuming the one that we see in Dominion is a juvenile, maybe do a theoretical, more grown-up one. So, yeah, that's a little bit more accurately proportioned. Anyways, next we have Camp Cretaceous Ornitholestes. For some reason, they'd rather do novel species than to do literal canon species from the TV show. Kind of sad, especially since I think the TV show, just like the series Camp Cretaceous and Chaos 3, have significantly better designs than a lot of the designs in the movies, and some of my favorite designs are from there, so it's kind of disappointing we haven't gotten any yet. But Ornitholestes would definitely be a fun one to get in that size range, because I think it just has a really nice model. So, yeah. And also another thing is that, since they're doing interchangeable parts, maybe they could do an interchangeable nose crest, so that it could have like 2 different variants. I believe there's a male and female variant, I could be wrong about that, but if there isn't, they can just make up a male and female variant for the crest, so yeah. Next we have Nothosaurus. Again, we already talked about this guy, just add some extra articulation to the leg, joints, give it a wire rubber, like a wire tail, maybe even give it a wire in the neck, that would be really cool. And yeah, can't even think of any interchangeable parts that you really want to do on this figure. So yeah. Anyways. Next, we have Smilodon, and again, this is kind of one that's up in the air, but I think releasing Smilodon in the Hammond collection would make the most sense. It would, again, it would give it more articulation than the regular articulation they give to the other creatures, and also since it's in the Hammond collection, it's already in its own section, instead of having to go with the, kind of just throwing a mammal into a line of a bunch of dinosaurs and other Paleozoic animals, like Paleozoic and a few Cenozoic creatures. It would be the only mammal for probably a long time, while in the Hammond collection, I feel like it would fit in a little bit better. So, yeah. Again, I think a Hammond collection Smilodon would be really cool. If not, I mean, you could just get the, I believe, 1/18th scale Beast of the Mesozoic Smilodon. That's basically the same thing, but still would be cool to see Mattel do a Smilodon as well, based off the Camp Cretaceous one, of course. And they could maybe even take a few things out of the Beast of the Mesozoics book and, like, give it an interchangeable head. One just with regular jaw articulation, and then one with, like, an actual really wide open mouth. That could be really cool. And maybe even give it interchangeable paws. Maybe one's with its claws out and one's with its claws in. Anyways, next we have Draco Rex. Again, kind of based off of the diorama from Fallen Kingdom. Honestly, kind of surprised they haven't done this yet, but, yeah. Don't need to do anything too crazy with it. Just make it a simple Draco Rex figure. And maybe you could give it interchangeable headpieces to give it different lengths of, kind of spines on its head. And probably also make it more of an orange color. Next, we have everyone's favorite dinosaur that has appeared on a list. Segisaurus. Yeah, this thing's basically just a compy, but Ornitholestes is honestly upsized a lot. I could also see an argument for them upsizing Segisaurus, though my idea is actually to make it a 2-pack with another creature, which we'll get to in a second, but Segisaurus could be really fun just to kind of be like, give it more simple articulation, kind of take some inspiration from the smaller Beasts of the Mesozoic raptors that articulate, kind of do something more similar to that. If they honestly would be really hard, but maybe they could pull it off. That would be really cool, Segisaurus, and pack it alongside Lesothosaurus, which is a creature that appeared on one of the Jurassic, like the list of Jurassic World creatures. So this thing is canon technically, but we haven't seen it alive yet. So yeah, I feel like they could make a argument for making this figure. Also, 2 creatures that I completely forgot to put in this video, I do want to apologize, is Oviraptor. I'm sorry, I missed you, Oviraptor. Mattel still has not made one of those, so that could be an alternate to put in this 2-pack. And also Microceratus. Honestly, now that I think about it, maybe put Microceratus with Segisaurus, because those guys kind of go hand in hand. And then kind of put the Lesothosaurus with the Oviraptor. But, yeah. Anyways, Lesothosaurus, I'd probably have the depiction look kind of more like some of those more modern depictions of small generic ornithopods, where they're kind of fuzzy for most of the body, except for like the end of their hands, legs, and tail. And then also give it the colors of the Jurassic Park Institution version of this animal, so that it's kind of green with black stripes going across it. Next, we have Elaphrosaurus. Apparently, this is another one that was on the list for Jurassic World creatures. Very random, but I was originally not going to even add it on this list, but then I saw some of the more modern depictions of it having these tiny arms and thought it'd be cool if they did a really slender animal with, like, really small arms. Also do its Jurassic Park Institution color. Give it, like, a red head and neck, and then give it a gray body with red stripes. That could actually turn out pretty nice. Though, I don't know. Again, they keep on bulking up the creatures, so who knows if this one would come out with weird proportions. But, yeah. Next we have, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this creature, another creature, a random creature on the list. You may be wondering, why am I including the most obscure random creatures from the Jurassic franchise to put in here? I mean, they put the most random things in the Hammond collection. I think it would just be I could definitely see Mattel putting some really obscure creatures in here from the franchise. And this is another creature that they could possibly go for. And also using Jurassic Park Jurassic Park Institution design for the colorations, giving it green with like kind of more black armor and calling up darker green spikes. So yeah, this could be a small, fun, small Ankylosaur. Don't know what the heck I was even trying to say there, but yeah. Anyways, next we have Nopanosaurus. And yeah, this is actually a really small hadrosaur. Yeah, this is another obscure creature from the list, and I think it would also be kind of cool to see a small hadrosaur figure. I could also see them getting the proportions kind of weird on this guy, but I feel like if the proportions were done right and they used like the Jurassic World Institution color scheme, which I think this color scheme is really unique. Pink with like a kind of like a cream underbelly, and then black stripes with like purple, well, not black stripes, like actually more like black circles with a purple stripe going down the side, with pink kind of outlining the black circles. I think that would be a really cool color scheme for a figure like this. And again, a really small hadrosaur would kind of be like a Minquaria figure, except for the Hammond collection. Granted, all these obscure species from the list, I feel like these would also be really good ones to put onto the put into like the main line as well. But we're just talking about Hammond collection for now. Next, we have Plesiosaurus. Plesiosaurus, depending on who you ask and what references you're going off of, at best case scenario is soft canon, and at worst case scenario is just not canon, but was almost canon multiple times. Whatever you want to go off of, Plesiosaurus, I think, would definitely be really cool to see as a small figure. They might have to bump it up a size range if possible, if they really needed to, but I think this size range would work well enough. And then go with, again, I don't think there's really any good, like, semi-canon design for this creature, but I did find this, like, concept art that someone made of, like, what it could have looked like if it was made during the Jurassic Park era, and I think this color scheme is actually really cool. Kind of dark blue on top with a white underbelly and a yellow stripe going down the neck. Add some yellow stripes down the back to this design, and I feel like this would also be a really good design for a Plesiosaurus. Now we get to move on to the non-canon stuff. We have Ichthyosaurus, which, unlike Plesiosaurus, it was another creature that is almost canon, but I don't think there's really anything that's soft canon that kind of suggests that it may have been actually in the parks. And if so, again, if there is something canon, then maybe base it off of that, but I also found like this kind of concept of what it may have looked like in the Jurassic franchise. That could be a cool color scheme, but another alternate idea I have is just use the Jurassic World the game Ophthalmosaurus color scheme for this thing. I feel like that yellow and blue could actually work kind of interestingly on the Ichthyosaurus. And yeah, again, I just really want an Ichthyosaur figure. Honestly, in the main line as well, but the Hammond collection would be a cool place to put one in. Next, we have Deinonychus, another creature that I've actually, from what I find, it was actually is somewhat canon. Apparently, was also in Jurassic World, and it was actually cut from Dominion. It was originally supposed to be in the film, but it was replaced with the Atrociraptors. And a really cool take on this, I actually don't want to do a scaly one. I would think it would be cool to do another feathered raptor, because I'm not going to lie, the only small figure I think that looks good is Pyroraptor, so maybe if they do it a second time with a feathered creature, it would look good again. They could probably reuse the Pyroraptor's tail, but it would be cool if they made a new tail sculpt for it. I hope they could actually work out the wings to make them work a little bit better. And again, if they just make the sculpt look good, it could be a really cool feathered raptor. And then also the color scheme actually do go with the canceled color scheme for the canceled designs from Dominion for the color scheme. With it being black, like a blackish brown color with like a tan underbelly and then orange stripes going down the side. That would be a freaking awesome color scheme, especially on a feathered raptor. Honestly, would love to see that. So yeah, that's probably up there for one of the ones I would want to see the most. Moving up, we have Rugops. This thing was inside of Indominus Rex's veins, canonically. Get it? Because it's part of its genome. Yeah, there's going to be about, I'm just going to let you know, there's about 5 different Abelisaurs that really make no sense to be on this video, but I put them in just because I thought it'd be fun. And honestly, Mattel be pulling the most random species out of left field to be putting in the Hammond collection, so you never know. Rugops. We also have Quilmosaurus, another creature floating around in the Indominus Rex's genome. And, yeah, this is another random creature they could do. I know they did actually Rugops and Quilmosaurus in the main line, but they could also do a Hammond collection variant of at least one of them. Next, we have Inostrancevia, another creature. Well, this creature is actually non-canon. Honestly, I just like Inostrancevia. Do the Jurassic Park Institution color scheme, and it would be freaking awesome. Also, give it like the little mohawk of hair, or feathers. Well, not feathers. It would actually be hair since it's a synapsid, but still, would be freaking awesome. Honestly, if I do make a custom Inostrancevia figure, I'm using this color scheme, and honestly, I want Mattel to at the very least make a creature that's close enough to Inostrancevia in which I can make a custom Hammond collection version of it with this paint scheme. So yeah. Next we have Sieradactylus. We only have one pterosaur so far, and if they can get this creature to stand, Sieradactylus would be a really cool creature for them to do. And especially if they did it in a smaller size range so we could have a smaller pterosaur. Yes, Dimorphodon makes more sense, but Sieradactylus is cooler, and also they can do a color, like kind of a lot of the fan color schemes have to be like black or brown in the body with a striking red head, and I think that would be really cool. As long as they gave it the proper teeth, and if maybe somehow they could work out to a rubber teeth, that would be really cool. If they have to bump it up to be like the medium size range, or like the medium small ones, or whatever the size range like the Serrano and Metriacanthosaurus are in, like the Geostembergia, if it has to be in that, I would be perfectly okay with that, as long as they can stand. But small would also be really cool for this creature. So yeah. Pterodactylus would really like to see. It was also in the first Jurassic Park novel, so that's why I put it in. Next, we're moving on to the medium creatures, and we start off with Sinoceratops. Not going to dwell on this guy either too much, but basically just do what I said earlier. Again, give it like swappable horns, give it like the jaw articulation thing that the Sinoceratops has, and then just make it as screen accurate as possible and give it a good color scheme. This would definitely be probably my favorite ceratopsian in the lineup. So, yeah. Next, we have Camp Cretaceous Ornithosaurus. I love Ornithosaurus, and honestly, it's a shame that we have not gotten a Hammond collection version of this guy. The mainline figure is pretty good, but it has a switch on the side of it, so, you know, it kind of messes with the sculpt. And then also it's also completely the wrong color. It's probably based off of one of the concept art designs for it instead of the final design, which I think the final design actually does look kind of cool. And the Hammond collection does have the tendency of messing up colors, and I would not be mad if they made this guy a little bit more purple than it actually is. But still, Ornithosaurus is just definitely a really cool creature, and I would probably actually get this figure. Next, we have Iguanodon. If I had to pick between Tyrannosaurus and Iguanodon, I'm picking Tyrannosaurus every day, but frankly, they would probably do Iguanodon instead, since, again, Iguanodon's canon. Well, it's canon, but it's actually in a film, though it barely counts. It's literally in the dark in the background from at least 100 miles away. So, yeah, you can barely see it. But, yeah, Iguanodon, I could definitely see them doing. And it would be cool if they did give this guy interchangeable arms. Like, basically give it, like, the regular ones and then give it, like, maybe they can just call it, like, a male variant's arms. But reality is just accurate Iguanodon's arms. So it can actually be really beefy and really massive. That would just be really cool. So, yeah. Next, we have Kentrosaurus. Probably one I'm not super excited for, but would still be cool if they did it. The Camp Cretaceous Kentrosaurus. Personally, not the biggest fan of this animal's design in the series, but still think that it could be nice if they did Pierce. So, yeah. Also, maybe they could give it a few interchangeable plates that can have kind of battle damage on it. Also, interchangeable shoulder spikes. Kind of like the Beast of the Mesozoic figure. Except it doesn't need to swap to the shoulder and hips. It can just be broken and stuff. But, yeah. Moving on, we have Pachyrhinosaurus. Again, we technically would probably get the Chaos Theory version since that's the more canon one, but yeah, I kind of want the Jurassic World Expedition or whatever it is one, because I think that one just has a much cooler look to it, and honestly, they can kind of make up their own color scheme. I would not be mad if maybe they made this and just gave it interchangeable parts. Like, make a Pachyrhinosaurus and give it, like, 3 different frills to represent the 3 different species. Have one be this version, one be, the Camp Cretaceous one, and then one maybe be, the Chaos Theory one, and then have one maybe be the, canceled version for the Sinoceratops, and then give it like different bosses you can use, one that's more flat, one that's more spiky like this, and then kind of just make up another one for the last one, or base it off one of the real life species, and then give it more of like a brownish color scheme maybe instead of green. That would be a really cool Ceratopsian and could possibly be even cooler than the Suda if done right. Next we have Majungasaurus. Majungasaurus would probably also be a medium figure. Now, would it be a medium large? I don't really know, but I think I will just go for like a regular medium figure, kind of like the Metriacanthosaurus and stuff. Again, doing Major's colors would be really cool, and I would not be mad if they did the other Majungasaurus, which is more of like a black color. That could also be pretty cool. And yeah, again, just kind of simple. Moving on, we have Baclospinax, another creature that would be in that size range, kind of like the same size as like Concavenator. This guy just has a really cool sculpt and cool color scheme. It would be really cool to see a depiction of this animal. And also for the Majungasaurus, it would be a little bit gruesome, but maybe they could do like an alternate arm, one that's like bitten off or something. But yeah. And same for Baclospinax, they could probably do so. Maybe they can make the spikes removable, because I know a lot of people don't like the spikes on it. So yeah. And also, maybe they could do some other things that are like changeable about it. But again, for the most part, I think Baclospinax would just be really cool. Next we have Teratophonius. I want Mattel to make a Teratophonius figure because I don't know why they have not. It's a cool Tyrannosaur, and honestly, again, it's kind of canon. It's one of those perfect creatures. A creature that is just barely canon, which means they can kind of make up whatever they want, and then that can be like the definitive design for this creature. Apparently, there is supposed to be a random unnamed Tyrannosaur in the scene where the Allosaurus, at least the young Allosaurus, was in Fallen Kingdom. And a lot of people speculate that may have been like what a live Teratophonius looks like. And it'd be cool if they kind of leaned into that, making it like a combination of the two. Maybe make it resemble more like the corpse that we find in the actual film, and then give it more of the colorations, kind of like this figure with like green and the more red crest. That would honestly be really cool, but yeah. Anyways, moving on, we have this Ankylosaur. Another one that would probably be in the medium size range. Again, actually would probably need to be a bit smaller than the Ankylosaurus figure, but yeah, I feel like if they gave it the right color scheme, kind of like this concept art for the animal, well, not concept art, but like fan-made design for the animal, this color scheme would be really cool translated over on a figure. I did talk about this guy in the other video, but it'd be cool still if they did it. So yeah, Moving on, we need Dunkleosteus. This is not a negotiation. Dunkleosteus need to be made. Honestly, this guy could... I would honestly not be mad. They could do Dunkleosteus in either, like, the medium-sized range where the kind of Metriacanthosaurus again is at, or they could go up to, like, the Carnotaurus size range for Dunkleosteus. Either or, a Hammond collection Dunkleosteus would be freaking awesome. So, moving on, we have Maiasaur, another semi-technically not kind of almost canon creature. Again, would be cool as another Hadrosaur. I have a lot of Hadrosaurs on this list because I'm pretty sure the only one they did was Parasaurolophus, and they haven't done one since. So, actually, no, they did Corythosaurus. I kind of forget that one because it's not very memorable to me, and also I never saw it in person. So, yeah. Maiasaur could definitely be another cool one. Next, we have Hadrosaurus. If they're going to do one from the books between Maya and Hadrosaurus, Maiasaurus had a design in the, got a, like, actual mainline figure. I think Hadrosaurus would be cool to see with, like, an actual design, like, an actual new design, kind of based off of the books. If they're going to do another book, Hadrosaur. Again, also, this is kind of like a fan-made design for it. I really like this color scheme. I think it'd be really cool. The only issue is it might clash with Ornithosaurus a bit. So, yeah. Another alternate color scheme is the Jurassic Park Institution color scheme, where it's more green. That could be cool. Or Mattel could come up with something on their own like they did with Metriacanthosaurus and Irritator. Next, we have Styracosaurus, another creature that's not really canon at all. Though I think it's almost canon several times, so yeah. This one actually might need to be a bit smaller. It could just be in that medium-sized range, or I could possibly see... okay, maybe it's a stretch to put in the small size range, but like kind of like the medium size range where Metriacanthosaurus is, it could definitely work there. And again, give it like the they could really come up with their own color scheme, or come up with a color scheme kind of similar to the I believe that one Jurassic fighting game, which I think it's Warpath Jurassic Park. I cannot remember what it's called, but yeah, again with the blue and purple could be pretty interesting. Next, we have the Jurassic Park Parasaurolophus. Just make a new sculpt for it. Maybe even give it the two different crest variants. One that's like a regular crest, one with like the kind of more droopy, smaller crest. I believe that's for two different alternate species of Parasaurolophus, but it still would be cool. And then also the color scheme of the Jurassic Park Parasaurolophus is just kind of awesome as well, with the green and red and almost blue and tan. That would be really cool to see translated over to a figure. So, yeah. Next, we have Euoplocephalus. I talked about this one in the other video. This would be another good medium ankylosaur. Give it a good color scheme, and also maybe give it interchangeable like shoulder spikes or whatever those spikes on the top of it are considered. And honestly, they could either do like a more orange and black color scheme, or even one kind of similar to the Chaos Effect figure. Either or, I think Euoplocephalus would be really cool, and it is canon. This is probably my favorite of the almost canon creatures, or the creatures that are canon but we haven't seen on screen yet. So, yeah. Next, we have this random Abelisaur, another creature that Indominus Rex absorbed into its genome for some reason. The most random creature that ever exists, but it would be in the size range. I kind of don't want this guy, actually. I think it would be better just to have this as a wild, raw figure. Next, we have the Dominion Parasaurolophus. Now we're moving up to the medium figures that would be like Stegosaurus-sized and Therizinosaurus-sized. The Dominion Parasaurolophus is massive, and technically it may need to even be bigger, but I think it could work here. Because I have a different Hadrosaur in mind for that larger size range. And no, it's not Shantungosaurus, despite as much as I want that to be there. Anyways, the Dominion Para, just make an adult variant of it. I would probably buy this thing ASAP, just because of a massive Parasaurolophus with this blue and tan color scheme would just be absolutely stunning. So, yeah. Moving on, Scorpius Rex, the only hybrid that I think actually needs a Hammond collection figure. I'm not saying Indoraptor and Indominus Rex don't need one. I think they should get one eventually, just... Frankly, I don't think they're priority in the slightest. Especially, like, before all the large theropods. I guess you can make an argument for Indominus since we've gone through basically all the large theropods. So, fair enough, maybe the next large theropod we get should be Indominus Rex. But Indoraptor, and again, I think they should just be a lower priority. Indominus Rex, we already have, like... We have, like, 3 good figures for it. Actually, we have 3 figures for it, and, like, 2 of them are, I'd say, are really good. And even that first one's pretty decent. The proportions are a bit off. And Indoraptor, literally, the first Indoraptor figure we got was basically just a superposable one. Literally, all they're going to do, I mean, was basically a Hammond collection one. It was superposable. And honestly, all they're going to do is basically just add a few more points of articulation, probably. And then also give it a better head. Outside of that, it's going to be basically the same. I feel like you could realistically just customize a Indominus Rex. I mean, an Indoraptor. You could just... Basically, the only thing that'd be difficult is maybe giving it ankle joints. Just replace the head, and then Mattel would probably just add ankle joints to it. And that's all the Hammond collection Indoraptor is going to be. Again, not saying we should never get it, but I feel like it's just not too high in priority. Especially since we also have other Indoraptor figures that are really good. But Scorpius Rex, I think, just doesn't have any good figures of a good sculpt. Also, you're maybe wondering about, where's Spinoceratops? Yeah, technically Spinoceratops counts too, but, frankly, they never give anyone a chance to actually care about this creature. Unless you play Jurassic World Evolution or watch people that actually use this creature in Jurassic World Evolution, you probably didn't get too attached to Spinoceratops. Let's be honest, it got no merchandise, it never got an adult design in the show. this creature was kind of put onto the sidelines. And yeah, it probably should get a figure too, but Scorpius Rex is cooler, so yeah. Next, we have Suchomimus, Chaos Theory one specifically, in this medium size range. I honestly would not be mad if they did a blue and yellow one too, or if they did the gray and red one from Chaos Theory. Either one would be really cool. And yeah, pretty much that's it. Pretty simple one. Moving on, we have Suchomimus. Again, this is the blue and yellow one I was talking about. Would be more based off of the website design. And yeah, just be really cool. I think the website design, they're trying to make non-canon as much as possible, since like Metriacanthosaurus was kind of close to its website design, except with different colors. Same thing with Suchomimus, really close to its website design, but they gave it different colors. I just don't know why they wanted to change them. A bit disappointed with Suchomimus because I love the original Suchomimus color design, though I still love the new Suchomimus in Chaos Theory. So yeah, still be really cool if we got a Hammond collection Suchomimus. Next, Plateosaurus. This is a non-canon creature and technically makes no sense for them to make, but they made Irritator, so that's my excuse for adding it in. Plateosaurus would just be cool, and also I originally thought that the Mussaurus figure was a Plateosaurus. Also, the Plateosaurus should be bipedal, though maybe if they really wanted to have it, give it the ability to walk bipedally. I mean, quadrupedally. Also, if I ever get a second Hammond collection Therizinosaurus, I am definitely making a Hammond collection Plateosaurus. I was doing some posing with the figure and found out that you can actually get a really good Plateosaurus kind of position out of it. So yeah, if I ever get a second one, I'm definitely going to do that, but I can't find another one for a good price. So yeah, Plateosaurus would just be a cool one for them to make. Next, we have Albertosaurus, another one that's kind of soft canon, because I believe Jurassic Park Trespasser was either canon at some point or it's somewhat soft canon. Again, Teratophonius, actually it might not even be canon at all, but just kind of vaguely related to canon. I don't really know. Albertosaurus would just be a really cool one to see. Admittedly, the Trespasser color scheme is a bit dull, just being brown, so maybe they could make it more orange. I could have sworn there was an orange and black variant of this, but I think I'm thinking of something else from the game. But yeah, an orange and black Albertosaurus would be really cool, though a brown one could also be pretty cool. Maybe even a green one as well. So yeah. Next, we have probably the largest out of this medium size range, Deinosuchus. Honestly, I could see argument for this being even larger, but I think we'll stay here. Deinosuchus is kind of canon. If that one cutscene from Fallen Kingdom where Owen Grady walks past a Deinosuchus corpse counts, then yeah, Deinosuchus is technically canon. We just haven't seen it yet. But if not, then I'd say it's vaguely canon. It's in Jurassic Park Arcade. I mean, Lost World Arcade, which is not canon technically, but very close. And again, Jurassic Park the Arcade has novel Carnotaurus, and they're making novel creatures, so it's basically a novel creature even though it never appeared there. Plus, it's in the Indominus Rex's genome, which means it's basically canon as well. So I don't see why they could not make a Deinosuchus figure. Plus, it would make it stand out from Persaurus and Sarcosuchus. Those two getting regular, like, actual mainline figures, and Deinosuchus getting a Hammond collection figure. And then they could probably also make a mainline Deinosuchus later down the line as well, but just for now, have the Hammond collection one be the main Deinosuchus. I think that could just be really cool. So, yeah. Next, we have Gigantoraptor. There are two types of people. People that know why I put Gigantoraptor and people that have no idea. Both people think I'm crazy, though. I'm just saying. But anyways, Gigantoraptor was cut from Jurassic World, I believe, or was it Fallen Kingdom? I think it was from the original Jurassic World, Gigantoraptor was cut. And, yeah, I think it would just be cool to introduce it. It's not canon in the slightest, but if they're going to do non-canon species, I feel like this would be a fun one to throw in. Make it one of these larger figures. Make it feathered. Definitely would sell very well. Though, again, I can see arguments for not adding in since it's not canon. They should probably add more canon species first, but if later down the line they want to add another non-canon one, Gigantoraptor is definitely up there for one of my picks. Next, we have Pycnonemosaurus, another creature in Indominus Rex 8, and it became part of it. So yeah, again, part of the Indominus Rex's genome. But Pycnonemosaurus is probably like the only one from here in which it should probably get a figure. Maybe like Rugops or Quilmosaurus as well as just a random small one for fun. But Pycnonemosaurus is definitely one that I think would be really fun to see. Again, this is not even, this design I have up on the screen is not even related to the Jurassic franchise, but I think this color scheme and design would be really cool. And if not in the Hammond collection, maybe in the main line. I feel like a gigantic Thrasher Pycnonemosaurus would be really cool to see. And as of now, it's the largest described Abelisaur. That's mainly because Titanovenator has just not been described yet. That thing's massive and probably even bigger than Pycnonemosaurus. But as of now, Pycnonemosaurus is the largest. It's part of the Indominus Rex. Really surprised they have not made this guy. Also, I could have sworn Albertosaurus was part of, not Albertosaurus. Abelisaurus was part of the Indominus Rex genome, but I don't know why I didn't see it on the wiki anywhere. But either way, it could also be another creature added in. I just didn't make a slide for it. Anyways, moving on, we have Spinosaurus Rebirth. I'm not gonna lie, after all the rebirth creatures getting added to Jurassic World game just become the regular creatures with the word rebirth slapped to the end, I don't know why I find that so funny, and I think it'd be funny if they named them that in the Hammond collection as well. But yeah, I think they already did the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus, where they did the rebirth one. I don't know if I would get this figure because, again, seeing how screen accurately they made the Sinoceratops, this one would probably also be screen accurate, and the Jurassic World Rebirth Spinosaurus is kind of ugly. The one from the main line is also very screen accurate, but somehow it's different enough that I actually think it looks good. This one, on the other hand, I would be kind of concerned. Hopefully they base it off the renders and not the creature in the actual show, because this render right here, I feel like it could actually work pretty cool for a Spinosaurus figure. So yeah, maybe even have like a big rubber paddle tail that can like articulate. That'd be really cool. And maybe even, this is a really long, a really absurd stretch, maybe give it alternate sails that you can swap out. Very unlikely they would do that, but maybe they could for different patterns. So yeah. Or even an alternate head could possibly work to give it like, give it kind of like the, heads, like one head that's a little bit more accurate than one that's more like the Rebirth one, but that's still a stretch. Next we have another one of the large ones, probably another one of my most anticipated figures I really want them to make, a Jurassic World Dominion Quetzalcoatlus. We got a standing Rebirth one, and I don't really want a Hammond Collection Rebirth one. Again, since they're getting really accurate to the screen designs, I don't really like the Rebirth Quetzalcoatlus, but the Dominion one, that thing is perfection, and it would be really cool to get a standing version of this figure. Honestly, this would just be the best Asdarkid figure. Until they make a Beast of the Mesozoic Asdarkid, there will literally not be an Asdarkid figure that outdoes this figure if they were to make a Hammond Collection Dominion Quetzalcoatlus that can stand. So, yeah. Anyways, next we have Jurassic Park the game Tylosaurus, or at least a accurate Tylosaurus that has this color scheme. I'm not gonna lie, either way I'd pick this thing up immediately. Honestly, I think it might even be cooler if they did do the accurate Tylosaurus and just gave it this thing's color scheme. Either way, I'd be happy to see it. You also may be wondering where's the regular Jurassic World Mosasaurus. That's also another possibility, but I kind of wanted to go with the more obscure creatures for this video. Next we have Edmontosaurus, a giant theropod-sized hadrosaur would be freaking awesome, and Edmontosaurus could grow to be larger than T-Rex, so it's very much reasonable. It doesn't have to be in this lineup. It could be one of the smaller ones, just about the same size or slightly smaller than the Rex, but still would be really cool to get a massive Edmontosaurus figure. Also, Shantungosaurus would be great, but even I admit it doesn't make sense for it to be in the Hammond collection. So yeah. Moving on, we have another creature I would really want. Jurassic Park Operation Genesis Carcharodontosaurus. They did Carcharodontosaurus dirty by being one of the few creatures based off of its admittedly not so good Jurassic World Evolution design. So yeah, again, basing one off the Jurassic Park Operation Genesis design would be really cool, at least with the colorations. Design just based off the real life animals, and colorations based off of that pinnacle design. That's probably my favorite Carcharodontosaurus color scheme. So yeah. Next we have Mosasaurus Rebirth. Anyways, yeah, the Mosasaurus from Jurassic World Rebirth. One with better proportions and better articulation would also be absolutely amazing. I'd pick this thing up immediately. It would be one of the best Mosasaurus figures until, like, again, Beast of the Mesozoic makes theirs. So yeah, a giant articulated Mosasaurus would be great. I would prefer this over the actual 2015 Mosasaurus any day. And again, because I love the Bite and Blast Mosasaurus, but it has really bad proportions, and also, again, there are some things that they get wrong, like the flippers and the tail fluke, especially the tail fluke. It doesn't look anything like the accurate Mosasaurus. It's kind of more of like an eel tail, while on the other hand, the Rebirth one is actual accurate Mosasaurus. And then the flippers on the Bite and Blast one, honestly, I've had some issues just displaying it in a position you usually put marine reptiles in, using its front flippers to hold it up. It kind of warps the flippers. So, again, making it more sturdy and more paddle-shaped like the one in actual Rebirth and like the older Mosasaurus would definitely help to go a long way. Honestly, can't even think of any swappable parts that would be necessary for this figure. Though, I think it would be cool if this one did come with a stand. Same for the pterosaurs. I also wanted to mention that for the pterosaurs. I feel like it's really necessary that they give those ones stands for a flying position, because I had to make a custom one for my Geostem. Anyways, next we have Novel Carnotaurus. What list is not complete without this thing? Yeah, this would not be a large figure. It'd actually be one of the more medium ones. But I cannot just do a list of Hammond Collection figures that would be cool for them to make without including my beautiful Novel Carnotaurus. So yeah, also you may be saying they already did Fallen Kingdom Carnotaurus. They don't need another one. They've done about 12,000 Velociraptors so far, so I don't see why now we can't get a second Carno. So yeah, those were all the creatures. That kind of thing would be cool to see in the Hammond collection. Sorry this video ended up being so long, honestly. I just had a lot to say, and also, again, I've been really dwelling on this all day since I haven't been able to record this video for a while. But again, hope you guys enjoyed this video. What's your guys' thoughts on these figures? I think the small ones are about as bad, though maybe slightly better than the small figures we've been getting. And I think Sinoceratops is so accurate that it's ugly, which is a good thing. That's probably one of the few times I'll say a figure is absolutely hideous and actually mean it in a good way, since it looks so screen accurate. Personally going to skip out on it, though. Hopefully they can carry on this accuracy and this quality onto some of their other figures. Anyways, What's your guys' thoughts on this? The Hammond collection in general, with species? Honestly, I am still mad at Spinosaurus basically being all taken by scalpers and not being able to get it, and same for Irritator. Irritator wasn't even taken by scalpers. I know I'm going to rant about this for a second, but Irritator I didn't know was an online exclusive. I just expected it to come in stores eventually. But no, it never did, and then I missed out on it. It's literally my favorite Hammond collection figure, and literally never going to be able to get it unless I'm willing to dish out like $200 bare minimum, so yeah. Anyways, I hope they get better releases for Hammond collection figures. Anyways, what's your thoughts on this? And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!